are in the midst of some of the things that if somebody does, they bring about poverty in the home. And this is in the midst of the several page Agadita that begins with some of the mystical things and dangers, as well as we got over here, some of the things that would bring poverty into a home. And today we'll continue with a little bit of Pesachim, but mainly it's going to continue to be Agadita, and many interesting topics will be covered as well. So the Gemara says, and this is on 111b, Kuf Yud Aleph Amid Beis, and we are at Kuf Yud Aleph Amid Beis, and we are at the bottom of the daf, the last two lines. Tza'a Apuma Dechatzva. If somebody puts an earthenware vessel on the opening of a barrel, kashalani yusa, that also can bring poverty. And somebody that drinks directly from a bowl, instead of drinking out of a cup, somebody drinks out of a larger bowl. So also manashasi maya bitzai kasha. So there it's kasha lebrukti. That's going to hinder the clarity of the eye. The achol tachali v'leimashi yade. Somebody eats shachalayim, so I think it's cress, and doesn't wash his hands. Mafchid plasinyam will cause him to have a fright, 30 days, where he's going to be afraid of something that he doesn't know what it is, as the Gemara is going to explain. Now we go to Kuf Yud Beis Amid Aleph 112a. Demasukar, somebody who has a bloodletting session from his shoulders, doesn't wash his hands, so he's going to have a fear of 7 days long fear. The shakal mazye, somebody who takes a haircut and cuts his hair and doesn't wash his hands, so there too he's going to have a fright, but this fright is mafchit lasayim. It's 3 days. The shakal tufre, somebody who cuts his nails and doesn't wash his hands, mafchit chad yoma, is going to have a fear of 1 day. Well, the other might come mafchit, and he won't know. In all of these cases, he won't know what he's afraid of. The customary way of washing hands after taking a haircut and after cutting nails, a bloodletting session, which obviously is not something we do, but in these all of this list of hand washing, for these things, the custom is to do washing like we do in the morning out of a cup, and first the right and then the left, the right and left, the right and left, where we switch off. So that 3 hand washing, one on each hand, alternating, a total of 6 times, is the custom for this as well. And that's distinct from the hand washing we do for bread, which is 2 on each hand, first 2 on the right and then 2 on the left, etc. Now the Gemara says, Yoda a'usya, somebody puts his finger on his nostrils or on his upper lip near the nostrils. So it'll cause darga lapachta. It'll cause a step closer to this fright that we were talking about before. Yoda pusya, if he puts his hand on his head, so darga l'shinsa, that is a step closer to falling asleep. So this is the head on forehead trick for somebody who has insomnia. Tana oichlin umashke tachas hamita afilu mechupa b'kli barzel ruach rashay. It's food that's beneath a bed, even if it's covered by an earthenware vessel, a ruach ra, even a metal vessel covers it, and ruach ra, a bad spirit is going to come on it. Now, this is something that's actually brought in halacha, and we talked about before. A lot of the things that were mentioned are not mentioned in halacha. And these are mentioned in halacha that one should not put food underneath a bed that they are sleeping in. Specifically, whether this is a halacha of a bed or even not a bed, but any time you sleep on something. This is relevant for, say, in an airplane where you put your food bag maybe underneath the seat in front of you, and the person is sleeping, or you put it under your own seat and you're sleeping. Or maybe this is true in some other way that you're traveling, that you have food underneath you and you sleep, whether that's relevant or not. Also, maybe if you're camping or something and you have your food beneath where you're sleeping, whether that's permissible or not. So the lechatchila, the halacha is not to put it under. There is a machlokas of whether or not, if you did put it under, whether you're allowed to eat it or it becomes prohibited. Also, Rabbi Akiva Eger brings that la halacha is that even if you put it under, even though you shouldn't put it underneath the bed, if you did, you're allowed to eat it. Also, if it is sealed, even though that it said if it's in an earthenware, in a metal vessel, covered by a metal vessel, but that doesn't mean sealed. But the poskim say that if it's in a sealed container or a sealed package, that also would not be a problem, and then you can even put it under and do it that way. So it's not always so relevant, but sometimes it does become a relevant question, and this halacha has some ramifications. Interesting to note that there is a tradition that a lot of descendants and students of the Gra, the Rabbi Yoel Vilna, the great Gaon of Vilna, that he said. So those of you, some of you may know the story of Avram ben Avram, the convert, who was the son of the Duke Tukotsky, the family of the Polish, really related to the royal family there and Polish royalty, and he had converted, and his family put him to death on account of his conversion. And the Gaon of Vilna said that the day that he was killed, the spirit, this whatever tumah this is, that you shouldn't have food underneath the bed, became weakened, and that we can be lenient in all of these halachas regarding the food underneath the bed. So it's an interesting note about this halacha. Tanu Rabbanan. So the Raisa taught one should not drink water at Tuesday night, meaning once it's already into halachic Wednesday, and Friday night, which is already halachic Shabbos. You should not drink water. If you did, it's dangerous. Now later we're going to see also that there's dangerous spirits out on those 2 nights. It is also interesting to note that poskim mentioned that the connection may be connected to the idea that a Talmud Chacham, or really anybody, should have marital relations Friday night, because that's a part of Onik Shabbos. A married person would do that, and then also another time during the week, and so that would be on average a Tuesday night, Wednesday, and so it has something to do with that. But what that connection is, I have no clue. Mipnei sakana, because of sakana. My sakana, rach, a bad spirit. What that spirit is, right? Now, ve'im tzachi maitakante. So if somebody does need to drink because he's thirsty, so what should he do? So he should say the Perek Tehillim that we say when we put back the Sefer Torah Shabbos morning. We say it Friday night as a part of Kabbalah Shabbos. The Mizmor of Tehillim, the Tehillim 29, which has within it the 7 times it says the voice of Hashem through water. So it says the voice of Hashem 7 times, including through water. It says Kol Hashem al hamayim. The voice of Hashem is on the water. Keila kavod Hashem amayim rabim. The glory of Hashem is loud, if you would. Hashem on great waters. Kol Hashem b'koach. The voice of Hashem in strength. Kol Hashem b'hadar. Voice of Hashem in glory. Kol Hashem shover harazim. The voice of Hashem breaks cedars. V'shaber Hashem asar ze'avana, and Hashem breaks the cedars of Lebanon. And then it goes on, and then it says Kol Hashem chosef lahavas eish, Kol Hashem yachal midbar. The voice of Hashem is penetrating like a fire, like a strong fire, and the voice of Hashem will dry out the desert. Yachal Hashem in Kadesh, the desert of Kadesh. Kal Hashem Yachol Yolos, and the voice of Hashem gets the deer, the animals to dance. Yechasov Yaros uveichalakol and it clears out the forests, and in his chambers it all calls out and says honor. Now in that there are 7 times it says the voice of Hashem, and it says it about on water. So if you are thirsty and you need to drink water on Tuesday night or Friday night, so you would say this before you drink it. Now and if you cannot say this, either you don't know it by heart or whatever, so what you're going to do is in name of Hachis, you should say this, and this is some sort of incantation. Lul Shafa, the pen of the rabbit, Anigron Anirdafen. So this type of drink, Anigron, which is a medicinal drink, is going to cause us to run away. Bein Kochve Yosefna, between the stars I sit. Bein Beli Shemina Azilna, and between those that are weak and fat, I sit. So this is the incantation, and that will cause the bad spirits to go away from him to save him, and then he can drink. And if he doesn't know this incantation, what should he do? If he has another person that's there, even though that the other person may be sleeping, nitare, wake that person up. And then you can say, Palanya bar Palansa Tzachinamaya, say the person should say about himself, his own name, the son of his mother, so-and-so, the son of so-and-so, is thirsty for water, and then only can he drink. And if there's no one else there to wake up to tell this statement to, so Mekarkesh Nachtama Achatzma, so he should shake something onto, bang something onto the barrel, onto the jug, and only then we drink. And he's got nothing to do, throw something into the water and then you'll drink it. All right, so those are the remedies for somebody that's thirsty on a Tuesday night or Thursday or Friday night. The Brisa taught you should not drink from rivers and streams or puddles or pools at night. If you did, you've endangered yourself. You're taking your own life into danger because of the danger. My sakana, what sakana are we talking about? Sakana shavriri. It is the danger of shavriri, which is a sickness of blindness. So what do you do if you're thirsty? If there's somebody else around there that you can call to go with you to get the drink, so tell the other person, so-and-so, your name, the son of so-and-so, your mother's name, is thirsty for water. And if there's no one else there, so a person has to say to himself, Planya Amra Li'imi, so-and-so, saying his own name. My mother said to me, is Dahir Mishavriri. Be careful of Shavriri. Shavriri, Bariri, Riri, Yiri, Ri, Tzachinamaya, Bekasichivri. So say these words, but you say the word Shavriri, dropping the one consonant each time you say it. Shavriri, Riri, Riri, Yiri, Ri, and thirsty for water, and in a white cup, in a clean cup. And that's what you say. That incantation will save from the blindness. All right, so that's the end of this section of the Agadah, mainly dealing with all of these spiritual entities that can endanger someone in various situations. Also, some practical things that are dangerous or are lack of kedusha. Most of them are things we don't have in halacha and are not something we practice. Did mention the couple that we saw at the beginning today, washing hands after taking a haircut, cutting nails, and also not having food underneath, not putting food underneath one's bed or what they're going to sleep on. The Mishnah had said that a poor person, even if someone is so poor that they're getting food from a food kitchen, meaning from prepared food, they're so poor they don't even have enough for a meal or two. Nevertheless, they should have 4 cups of wine and have matzah and the community has an obligation for them. The Gemara says, Pshita. Obviously, well, why would they be exempt of this mitzvah? So rather, this is needed even according to the teaching of Rabbi Akiva, which Rabbi Akiva said that Rabbi Akiva, as we'll learn later, told his son that Asay Shabbat Chachol, one of the great teachings he told his son was, make your Shabbos weekday, meaning don't treat your Shabbos with the most elegant, the most elaborate meals and the best foods. If you can't afford it, it's better to just have a challah and some basics and make it like a regular weekday meal, as long as you don't have to borrow money or take tzedakah in order to make your Shabbos. That's the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Now, not everybody holds like this. And in fact, in halacha, we say that it is in certain cases, at least when it's responsible, borrow money in order to make Shabbos nice. And when you love our live ani pareah, borrow, Hashem says, and I will pay it back. In other words, you will get a bonus. You will get, Hashem will bring some greater income to you so that you'll be able to pay back what you borrow for Shabbos, if it's responsible, within it means that it's responsible. That one should make Shabbos nice. But Rabbi Akiva is of the opinion, no, if you're going to have to borrow money or if you're going to have to take tzedakah in order to make Shabbos nice, better to just have toast and tea, and that'll be your Shabbos, rather than have something nice and fancy for Shabbos. However, nevertheless, even according to Rabbi Akiva, who said that Shabbos, if you can't afford it, just make it simple, for Yantif, Pesach, where it's about the miracle and talking about the miracle and about the redemption, and you have to have 4 cups, you have to have the matzah, you have to have the maror. So even if this person is so poor that they can't even afford 2 meals, and so they're getting their meals made by the community from the soup kitchen, nevertheless, they have to, for the Seder, have all of these things because of Pirsum Nisa. Tana Devei Leo, the Bryce in the name of Rabbi Leo, Alpha Pi Shabbat Rabbi Akiva, Asay Shabbat Rechav Tetzarach Brias. Even though Rabbi Akiva said in regards to regular Shabbos, make it simple like a weekday and don't borrow or need help from other people. Nevertheless, do something special, not just plain toast and tea. You have to have something, even according to Rabbi Akiva, you have to add something into something special for Shabbos. What's a simple thing that someone can make and add for Shabbos? This is, they used to have fish guts in a roux, and that was sort of like a cheap special dish. I think the equivalent to that is herring, salted herring. That I think was the cheap equivalent that Polish Jews could get. They couldn't afford really anything really special for Shabbos necessarily, but they can have salty fish that was in with a lot of onions and salt and what was cheap. So that's the that equivalent. This idea of adding something to Shabbos to make it nice and special. Obviously, if you like it, then you can, even if you can afford more, that's good. But even if not, even if someone is very poor and they can't make anything special for Shabbos, they're just going to have some toast and tea. Nevertheless, at least something special. And the Gemara says what one example of that would be this kisa de harsa. As we learned Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema says, and this is a Mishnah that you may be familiar with, have a az kanamer, be as audacious as a leopard, v'kal kamesher, and as swift, as light as an eagle, rutz katzvi, and as swift, as fast, running like a deer, v'gibor ka'ari, and mighty like a lion, lasat son of Yechash b'shamayim, to do the will of your Father in heaven. In other words, go beyond the natural limits that you have. Push a little bit more. So even though Rabbi Akiva says don't borrow money, but just do a little more of an effort to make something special for Shabbos. And this is true in every mitzvah we have, and everything we do. We have the ability to do plenty, and then we have the ability to push just a little more. And that a little more is really what breaks it and makes it something really special. And so sometimes we feel like, all right, I put in an effort. If we think about it, we could do just a little more. Just push that effort one step forward, one stronger. And that's this idea of Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema being audacious like a leopard, as light as an eagle, as swift as a deer, gazelle, and as strong as a lion to do the will of Hashem. Just utilize those efforts a little more. And so too, even if somebody is poor for Shabbos and has nothing special, make one thing, get something that you can do to make special for Shabbos. All right. So where did all this come on Rabbi Akiva? So now the Gemara is going to go into Nagadata, and we're going to get many statements from Chachamim that they gave over to their children and students. There are 7 things that Rabbi Akiva told Rabbi Yehoshua his son. And Rashbam says that this is Rabbi Yehoshua ben Karcha mentioned elsewhere, and ben Karcha means the son of the bald one. And this would be Rabbi Yeshua, the son of Rabbi Akiva, because Rabbi Akiva was bald, as the Gemara tells us elsewhere that Rabbi Akiva's colleague Ben Azai called him. That he said that everybody's the paper skin of a garlic compared to this bald one, to Rabbi Akiva. In other words, we see Rabbi Akiva's bald that way. However, Tosfos doesn't like that. Why would we call someone Rabbi Yeshua, the son of the baldy? But nevertheless, there are explanations for it. In any case, so Rabbi Akiva told Rabbi Yeshua, his son, Beni, al teisha begavar shalir. Do not sit at the height of the city, Vitishna, and try and study there. It's going to be distracting to you. Don't sit, at a busy intersection or a busy place or where people pass by all the time and try to learn. You're not going to be able to focus. Don't live in a city whose mayor, whose city council, whose leaders and organizers are Talmidei Chachamim, are Torah scholars. You know why? Because they're going to be so busy learning, they're not going to take care of the needs of the city. You need someone who's going to take care of the city, who's not a Talmid Chacham. Everybody's got their job to do. Don't enter your house without knocking, just suddenly. For sure not to someone else's house. Don't walk around without shoes. It is not appropriate for a Talmid Chacham to walk around barefoot. Wake up early and also eat early. Eat early in the day, in the summer, so you have strength for the heat. In the winter, so you have strength for the cold. And as we saw before, one of the things he told him was, make your Shabbos a weekday instead of having an elaborate meal, rather than needing to get assistance from others. And do business together with someone that the shamas achekaslo, that the moment is smiling at him. Someone that seems to be having good luck right now, get into business with him. Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa was very wealthy, said, not to buy from him, because then you're going to lose out, because if he's the one making money, you're the one that's going to lose. And not to sell to him, because also you're going to be on the short end of either one of those interactions, because he's the one that is having good luck right now. Rather, what it means is to have a partnership with him. However, the Gemara says that's not correct. But since Rabbi Shmuel Yitzchak said, look at the story of Eov. In the book of Job, in Eov, in the beginning, before his luck turns, the pasuk says that his luck was great. And Hashem, the angel tells Hashem, look, everything he does turns to gold, right? What's the meaning of it? It says, that the actions of his hands, the work of his hands, you blessed. The Gemara says that the meaning of that was anybody that even got money from Eov in a sale, Mizbarech, that money was blessed, and whatever it touched was successful. So therefore, so do business with someone that's having good luck, that the moment is smiling at him, whether it is to become a partner with him or even to buy and sell from him, because that money is all blessed. Now, once we mentioned Rabbi Akiva's messages to his son, the 7 messages. So Gemara tells a story of 5 things that Rabbi Akiva taught Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Now, Rabbi Akiva had been in prison. Rabbi Akiva had been in prison and ultimately, as we know, he was killed brutally by the Romans. And this was done because he was teaching publicly. He was teaching Torah in defiance to the Romans. And when he was in prison, his student, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, came to visit him. Amalei Rebbe lamdeini Torah. And he said, Rebbe, teach me Torah. Amar eini melamdecha. He said, no, I'm not going to teach you. I'm here in prison. I'm not teaching you Torah. Amalei einata melamdeini ani omer liYochai Abba. If you don't teach me, I'm going to tell my father Yochai, which is strange, that he's in prison and I'm going to rat on you to my father. He's going to give you over to the kingdom. Well, it's already too late. So it's a very peculiar statement by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. I'm going to rat on you to my father, and then my father is going to rat on you to the government, and they're going to imprison you. But this is happening in the prison. So exactly what's going on, a lot of interpretation, a lot of messages. But for now, let's just continue with the Gemara. So Rabbi Kiva says to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, you think that you want to learn? Trust me, I want to teach you more than you want to learn. More than the calf wants to suckle, the mother, the cow, wants to nurse. He says, yeah, that's very nice that you want it more, but who's in a greater danger? The calf is in danger. So you know the Torah, you want to give it over, but I'm in danger. If I don't hear it from you, I'm lost. So he taught it to him in metaphor. First metaphor, if you want to strangle yourself, hang yourself on a big tree. So obviously an interesting usage of metaphor. So there are multiple lessons and messages here. One, when a person teaches Torah, they become the master of that statement. And we know throughout the Gemara and even in Halacha, there are many teachings in the names of great people, and that becomes a legacy for them. That even after they pass away, they keep on teaching that Torah because we have that Torah. Like for instance, right here, Rabbi Kiva is teaching us Torah in Portland, Oregon, 2,000 years later. So we have these great teachings. So a person can be the great teacher, can be the orator to teach for generations. However, if somebody maintains themselves, they were willing to choke themselves in order to teach something in the name of a greater person, so that that teaching will have a greater reach. So they can hang themselves in a great tree, meaning Ilan Gadol, a great person. So instead of saying and teaching in their own name, they say it in the name of their teacher, who they would have learned that from, and that is choking themselves, meaning they are constraining themselves, restraining their own ability to reach Torah, reach out and spread Torah, because they're saying it in the name of someone greater. And another way is that another meaning of that is in order for this halacha to be accepted. Sometimes somebody feels like their halacha is not going to be accepted. Who am I? But if they can say it in the name of their teacher that taught this to them, and it'll reach a greater crowd, so that is somebody holding back their own honor in order to hang it on a great tree. That's the meaning. So the first thing is learn from your teachers, say it over from the teacher, even if it's going to mean less honor for yourself. Another thing, when you teach your son, make sure to teach him in a book that you know is without mistakes. It's been checked. Now we know nowadays everything is printed, but that was all back then. Everything was handwritten, so it was likely that there were mistakes. And the problem is, once a mistake happens, is taught at an early age, it's very hard to unlearn that mistake. Maihi. So what is this teaching? Rava said by a young person teaching him the b'shabeshta, because a mistake, even though once it's gone up in a person, it's very hard to unlearn that mistake that they learned. Also, don't cook in a pot that your friend cooked in. So mind you, what is this meaning. So Gerusha b'chaya bala. This means a divorcee when her husband is still alive. The Amar, as the teacher said, Garush Shanasa Gerusha. If a divorcee marries a divorcee, so both of them still have their original wife and their original husband alive. Arba b'deis b'mita. So there are 4 personalities in bed. The idea is that since there's still a possibility in one's mind to go back to original husband or original wife, so there's always a comparison in the mind of each one of them, and that is the danger. That's the idea of multiple personalities in bed. And some say this is true even if it's an almana, even if it's a widow, because even though that the original husband's dead, still there would be that idea, lafi. And the reason is, and we turn to Kufiyud base, Amid base 112b, she'ein koletz b'yeshavis, and this is a euphemism because not all the fingers are the same, and the idea is that this would the pleasure is different, and therefore that comparison is being made, and so Rabbi Kiva told Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai not to marry a divorcee. Mitzvah v'guf gadol echol peres. And he told him another teaching. A mitzvah and a big body is eat fruit. And what is the meaning of this? It says if you want to do a mitzvah, we know that there are great ways of helping someone that's poor. One of the ways of helping someone that's poor is lending them money, and it's the ideal form of tzedakah because they don't feel as embarrassed, and it's an interest-free loan. However, the person that's doing the interest-free loan loses out. So here's a way to do the mitzvah, but also have some profit where there's a win-win on both ends. And this is called a mashkanta de surah, the Syrian type of mortgage. What would be done is, A would lend, let's say, $100,000 to B. B owns property. They can't manage that property. They can't make enough of a profit to live off of. So A tells B, I lend you the money, and I now take the rights of usage of the property. And I will diminish from the loan a certain amount for every year that I use the land. And so essentially it's not really a loan, it's a lease. It's a lease of the land. However, why is it called a loan? Because the person owes the money back, and it's only diminishing the value, meaning the debt diminishes with each month or year that the lender has rights to use the field, but he uses it, but he's not paying full price because then it's a regular lease, right? Instead, he gets to use the land for less than market value. So let's say the classic market value for a lease of such a parcel of land for $100,000 would be 5-year lease. He lends him $100,000 right now and uses the land, and every year diminishes only $10,000 of the debt. And in doing so, he now has a profit because if he knows how to use the land well, he'll be able to plant there and grow and get something off the land, as well as he still has the debt. So there's a win-win for everybody. The person that's impoverished and needs the money is going to get the $100,000. He still gets his land back at the end of this period, unless he can pay back the loan. Then he can pay it back at any point. And so it's not like a lease where he would have to breach the contract. He can at any point buy this back or buy out this loan by just paying it back. And the lender gets money, can make a profit. So this is a mitzvah as well as a guf gadol, a great profit for the person. V'lo schar mitzvah. And he gets the profit. Now also mitzvah v'guftar. If somebody wants a mitzvah and a pure body, no se isha v'lebanim. He should marry even though he already has children. That means if somebody's married and lost his wife, and now he says, all right, I'm married, I was married, so I fulfilled that mitzvah, I had children, and so I'm done. No, but if he wants to have a mitzvah, meaning he can take care of another woman who may need it, and also he's a guf tor, he will maintain his purity, and so he should marry even though he already has children. Now we mention another teaching from one of the greats. Rabbeinu HaKadosh, Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, taught his children 4 things. Don't live in the city Shechansiv. Those people are scoffers. They make light of everything, and you will learn from their insincerity and from their sarcasm. And don't sit on a Aramean bed. Now, what does that mean? Some say don't go to sleep without reading the Shema. Some say it means don't marry a convert, because you have to be very sensitive. The Gemara tells us about Mitzvah, you always have to be sensitive with the feelings of your wife, and to make sure that you never cause them to cry or any anguish or pain. However, with a Gioris, with a convert, the mitzvah is even greater, because the Torah says many times that to be sensitive to a convert. Now, a husband it needs to be perfect in order to never cause pain to their wife, and with marrying a convert, a Gioris, that mitzvah is even more heightened. And so, unless you're sure that you can do it, like Boaz, who married Ruth, or Yehoshua, who married Rachav, unless you're great like these great Chachamim, these great giants in our history, Boaz and Yehoshua, who married converts, unless you're really sure you can do that, don't marry a convert. That's the second interpretation of don't sleep on an Aramean bed. Some say no, it means an Aramean bed of the local people. Why? Like we see the story with our Papa, who was not careful about this, and the Gemara tells us that he once came to visit someone, and they told him to sit down on the couch. He sat down, and when they came in screaming, "Where's the baby?" and they found the baby under the mattress, dead, and they claimed that Papa killed him. Basically, this baby had died, and they put the baby underneath the mattress, and then invited him to sit down, and then basically framed him, and he had to run away from where he was living to, and so Rabbi, this interpretation says, Rabbi said, don't sit on Aram, don't trust them, because you never know what they're planting there. And this is similar to the blood libels that went on for generations, where when somebody died, they would blame it on the Jews and say that they were using it for matzah. Also, Rebbe said to his children, don't cheat on taxes. Dilma mishkechulach, because if they do catch you, called the islach, they're going to take away every merit you have, all the money you have. Whether he means only financially going to take away, or also take away your merits in Shemayim because of the disgrace that happens. In other words, don't cheat, because it's going to be worse. Don't stand near a bull as it comes up from the riverside, from the swamp, because it is wild, like as if the devil is hanging out between its horns. Amar Rav Shmuel, Bishar Shachar, and this is talking about a black ox, so it gets very hot because it catches the heat. And in the days of the spring, of the summer, because at that point it comes in, it is mad. Rabbi Shaya says similarly that from a short tam, from a bull that you don't know has ever gored, keep away 50 amma, about 75 feet. Mishar mu'at. But if it's a bull that is known to have gored, as far as your eyes can see, get away from it. Tana Mishmei Rabbi Meir. In fact, Rabbi Meir, it's name in the name of Rabbi Meir, they say, Reish Tura B'dikula. Even if the bull has its head in the trough eating, Sak le'igra, run up to the attic, V'shadi dargim etusach, and take the ladder, the steps away from beneath you. Even though that bulls don't climb up ladders, doesn't make a difference. hide as far as you can. Amar Rav. Now we have a teaching of Rav. It seems odd over here, but this is what he says. Niza the Torah, the way to call to a bull is hen. Niza the Aryeh, the way to call to a lion, zeh. Niza the Gamla, the way to call to a camel, da. Niza the Arba, and the way to call for people that are pulling a boat upstream, Hilni hey, move quickly. He look of a hulya. All right, so those are the calls. Amar Abaye said, Or dag v'kos chamin ubeitzim v'kinim levanim kulav kasha davacha. This list of things: hides, fish, a cup, hot water, eggs, and lice, white lice, are cause a leprosy of sorts. So the Gemara says, or what does it mean? Hides. Somebody who sleeps on hides of an animal that haven't been fully turned into leather yet, not completed process yet. What fish? Shibuta b'yamanisim. This fish shibuta in the spring. Kos, what is kos that can cause this? Shiyura kasad house, and the leftovers of this fish guts with a roux. Chamin, hot water. Chamimi de chamimi. If it's very hot. Meshadri elave, because he can spill it upon himself. Beitzim, what are eggs? Man the madrucha kalipim. Somebody steps on eggshells. Kinim, lavanim, what are these white lice? Man the michve lavushe, somebody who washes his clothing to get rid of lice. And doesn't let it dry for 8 days in order to for the lice to die. And he puts it back on when the lice may still be there, and so now the lice are even more going to attack him even more. So because Berian Hanachkinim v'kasha davacha, so these lice are even more alive right now, and now we're going to and all these are dangerous for type of leprosy. Amar Papa, basically it's a shunra l'neil be'inshi b'lemisani. Papa says a house that doesn't have that has a cat, you shouldn't walk around there barefoot. Why? My time. Because the cat will kill a snake and eat it up. And it has little bones, and you're going to step on the little bones, and they're going to injure you. It's not going. You're not going to be able to take it out. And it's going to make it dangerous. Those say the other way around. A person shouldn't walk in a house that doesn't have a cat. My time, what's the reason? Maybe there is a snake around, and since there's no cat, then no cat's going to attack it. He won't know about it. Umistakin is going to become dangerous for him. So Kimon Dvarim Tziva Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi is Rabbi. There are 3 things that Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi, told Rabbi. Makashtim. Al tasatz mechum. Don't injure yourself. Mai. What does that mean? Lo tehei lecha dinim ahadit laso. Don't have a court case against 3 people, because if you do, the chad have a baldin, because in the end, what's going to happen is one of them is going to say, I have an issue with you, and the other 2 are going to become witnesses, and you're going to have 3 of them. They're going to make this come in cahoots against you. Have a baldin, so don't get into an argument, a legal battle with 3 people. And don't look at and ask about an item in the marketplace if you don't have money to buy it, because people are going to say, oh, he's probably buying it, and you're not going to end up buying it. They're not making an offer on it because they think you're buying it, and in the end, the seller is going to be left with it not sold. Also, the laws of Nida, in as opposed to Ziva in an abnormal menstrual flow, in a regular menstrual flow, the halacha is on a Torah level, not midrabanan, but in a Torah level, that even all you need is 7 days from the beginning of the flow, even if the flow is on the 7th day itself. So what would happen is that this person would have a flow on the 7th day, go to the mikveh, and you don't know whether it'll continue that night or not. Now, nowadays, it's not relevant because we always do a 7 clean days. But back then, if they did that, so it would be dangerous, and or dangerous meaning that you wouldn't know whether there would be a flow that night, and they would be together, and so therefore it says that first night not to be together. Amar Rav, but neither the Raisa. So Rav says this is only in a neither the Raisa because they already it was a known open flow. Maybe it's going to continue even that night, but obviously nowadays, as I mentioned, it's not relevant. 3 things Rabbi Yossi, the son of Yehuda, taught Rebbe. Don't go out at night alone. And don't stand unclothed in front of a candle. And don't walk into a new bathhouse. Now, Shema Tiftach, maybe the floors will collapse. So Gemara says, Ad Kama, how long do you have to be concerned about this? Until 12 months. So Gemara, so for this, you have to understand that the Romans had sort of created this bathhouse system where there was a floor and some pillars and a floor on that. And they would have fire beneath the floor and then steam and water in that room. So they basically created a heated floor. And the danger was that this was all made out of clay or cement, and you didn't know whether the heat would actually collapse the floor or harden it and make it more solid. And it was a question of the engineering. And so he said, don't go into a new bathhouse because that floor collapses. It's extremely dangerous. You fall into the fire and the hot water can fall on you. And indeed, that sometimes happens. So 12 months gives you an assurance that bathhouse is safe. Somebody who stands unclothed in front of a candle can become paralyzed. And also one has marital relations in front of a candle also can have children who would be paralyzed. All right, so that's it for today. We'll continue Bez Hashem tomorrow morning with a continuation of these halachas.
Set your clocks ahead.
Yes, and it is now 9:22 in the real clock.
Don't forget to do it at 2 a.m. like you're supposed to.